Omaha Mayoral Debate. Here now is Brian Mastre from downtown Omaha.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Omaha Press Club. We're coming to you live for a debate among the 5 candidates who will be on the ballot for Omaha Mayor. The top 2 vote getters from the April primary will advance. Let's hear it for the live studio audience. This is when you can be loud for your candidates. It's always good energy when live bodies are in to listen to a debate. A housekeeping note, though, for folks. Be respectful and keep the cheers and jeers to yourself. We drew names out of a hat to determine the order. Some voters may be hearing from a candidate for the very first time today. There are a lot of candidates and only an hour, so let's get right to it. First question is to Jasmine Harris. If elected mayor under your leadership, how will you improve Omaha for future generations? You have 1 minute.
Thank you, Brian. Omaha is at a critical moment in its determination for its future. It needs a mayor who has fresh eyes and fresh ideas to continue moving forward. As mayor, I want to focus on public safety. I want to focus on affordable and safe housing, connecting our transportation system, and also ensuring that we support our local and small businesses. As mayor, I am going to be the mayor that will listen to all the people of Omaha. As I've worked with folks from across this city and across this state, I've worked with people from every zip code, every walk of life, and all I've heard is that they want their voices heard. I am people-centered, and I am here to ensure that everyone gets a chance and an opportunity to have their voices heard in how our future is shaped, and that's what I will do as mayor, to ensure that Omaha is built as a city that will include all of us.
Same question to Mike McDonald. 1 minute.
I believe any city is built on public safety, streets, garbage, affordable housing, and parks. And I think we can improve in every one of those areas. Right now with the taxpayers, we have a problem with spending. I think we have to improve on our tax dollars, making sure that we're spent effectively and efficiently to try to look at building the international city of the future. If we can get the foundation right, looking at the future going forward with an international city of the future based on agricultural technology and technology overall, and making sure that our young people understand, I want to retain and recruit. But first of all, we have to recruit, we have to retain. We've got young people that are leaving. We have a brain drain right now in the city of Omaha. We have to make sure that we keep our people here, making sure they understand they have a future in Omaha through the idea of if someone wants to, of course, go to college and become a doctor or become an architect, that's great. But there's also other ways to make sure that our people are successful in the city of Omaha and can acquire that American dream.
Thank you. Jean Stothert, 1 minute.
Thank you. Well, you know, I love my job and I hope it shows. But we have a pattern over the last 12 years since I've been mayor of determination, of progress, and success. And we want to build on that momentum that we have already developed. Omaha has been doing amazingly and within the past 12 years as far as public safety, jobs, job creation, our budget. We are safest as we've been in many, many years, and our crime statistics show that. We want to continue with that. Our budget is in excellent shape. I have reduced the property tax levy 5 times. It's the lowest it's been since 2010 right now. Our budget is in great shape. We've had a surplus at the end of every year, and our bond raters give us an excellent high bond rating. As far as economic development and job growth, you see it all over the city, from the Missouri River to the Elkhorn River. Since I have been mayor, the unemployment rate has dropped from 4% to 2%. So we are on our way with that also. So we need to continue with that great momentum we have to keep on with this great development, keep Omaha safe, and continue to moving forward and keeping Omaha a great place for opportunity for everyone.
Thank you. John Ewing, 1 minute.
Thank you, Brian. I believe Omaha has to do a much better job of intentional economic development. Right now, our development is led by developers and not led by any type of strategic plan. We have to be much more intentional about economic development and making sure that all parts of the city are included in that. I think the other thing we have to do is make sure that we have high-paying jobs in this city and living wage jobs in this city so that people can afford to have decent, affordable housing in our community. We have a shortage of affordable housing. We have a shortage of decent housing. We don't need any more city views. We don't need any bed bugs and OHA. We need people to be able to have decent affordable housing. I think it's also critically important that we recruit and retain our young people and make this a city that's inclusive, that they want to stay in and that they want to be able to raise their families in. And I will do that as mayor.
Thank you. Terry Brewer, 1 minute.
As a proud product of Omaha, Nebraska, I want to ensure that Omaha become a safe place for all of our young folks, give them opportunity to cut down the crime rate that our youth have. We have 55% of youth in DCY, and I feel that because there's no opportunity for them to have things to do, as I had opportunity as a youngster when I came up here. We had the boy clubs, we had opportunity to do things that kept us off the street. My job as the mayor will be able to make sure that we are able to make sure that our young folks have a future and they're able to live in a safe environment and have a future to go forward, to dream bigger than they are to. Because I'm a dreamer. And that's what I'm here for, because I love dreaming, and I've attained goals that attain that. If we can get our young folks 100% behind us, they'll have a future. And I want to make sure that my young people and my grandchildren and my legacy have a future in Omaha, Nebraska. They don't have to leave Omaha to go to get better jobs. They get better jobs here in Omaha. That your degree will open doors for you. Education.
All right. Terry Brewer, you can hold that note because we'll come back around. Each of you gets 30 seconds for rebuttable. Same order. Jasmine Harris, 30 seconds.
Thank you, Brian. Everyone up here is talking about the youth. I am the youth. I tell folks that my future is now, and I wasn't included as a youth in what this future would look like. And I will ensure that we are working with our youth, our young professionals, because that's the work that I've done to ensure that we have their voices at the table. Because in order for them to stay, they need to feel like they are heard and that their decisions and their suggestions are actually being put in place.
Thank you. Mike McDonald, 30 seconds.
The mayor talks about reducing your taxes. That's just not accurate. But if I go ahead and I increase your taxes by $2, your property tax, I reduce it by $1, it's a decrease in the increase. We have to make sure that we do true property tax relief and other ways to actually effectively and efficiently spend our tax dollars. Mayor Stodler also raised her budget in the mayor's office by 40%. She also raised the city's budget by 11.1%, 11.3%. That's not controlling spending. That's not being effective or efficient with our tax dollars.
Gene Stothert, 30 seconds.
Sure. You know, the budget has not been raised that much year over year. My goal was to keep the budget year over year, 4% or less, and we have done that for most years. As far as our development goes, you know, it is very intentional. For Midtown, downtown, we had the Urban Core Committee. Right now, we are redoing the entire city master plan to coordinate our development from all over town, from the Missouri River out to the Elkhorn River. And the mayor only has the ability to lower the property tax levy, which I have done 5 times for over 12%. We can't help what the Douglas County assessor does.
Thank you. John Ewing, 30 seconds.
When we talk about young people and retaining them, I'm one of the people that started the Step Up program that employs 800 young people a year. I've been involved with mentoring with a number of organizations, including the 100 Black Men of Omaha, Mentor Nebraska, as well as Big Brothers Big Sisters. I've worked with young people and done things to retain them and encourage them to be able to have a great, successful career. I will continue to do that, as well as make sure we have intentional economic development that impacts all of our community.
Thank you. Terry Brewer, 30 seconds.
As an educational professional, I have done my best to make sure that I empower youth, teach the youth folks how to attain education, and that education does open doors for them. My concern is that once they get these jobs in Omaha, Nebraska, and I want to increase public transportation, because I realize that once we stop at 144th and Center, and we go any further than 144th Center, we're stuck. Job opportunity now is out there on 180 all the way up to 200, and we need to make sure that public transportation is able to go from 144th to 200.
All right, thank you. Second question goes to Mike McDonald. In an ode, perhaps, to Tennessee Williams, you've called it the streetcar named disaster. and want to put it to a vote of the people. To some, it seems like perhaps an early battle cry of no to progress, sort of like what was heard to stop riverfront development, the convention center, the downtown ballpark. What don't you like about it? And is it silly to put it to a vote of the people if it's already in action?
I agree with State Auditor Mike Foley. It's the largest diversion of property tax dollars in the history of Nebraska. And it's going to be anything but free for the taxpayers of Omaha. I believe we're looking at a 150-year-old technology we're going to spend $500 million on. We have 4,500 miles of roads in our city. We're going to spend $500 million on 3 miles. In 2017, when Mayor Stother was running for mayor, she said the people of Omaha would be able to vote on the streetcar. Not because it was an ordinance, not because it was a statute, because it was the right thing to do. If you elect me as your next mayor, I'm going to make sure Mayor Stother's campaign promise is kept, and the people of Omaha are going to have a chance to vote on the streetcar.
Gene Stothert, 1 minute.
Sure. I've been working on the streetcar for quite a while. It was the #1 recommendation from the Urban Core Committee to put a streetcar in. That was over 100 people that worked on that. Calling it a disaster, the only thing that would be a true disaster would be to stop the streetcar right now and do Mike McDonald's plan. But let me tell you this, the streetcar cannot be stopped. So yard signs saying stop the streetcar, they're foolish right now because the streetcar has moved on along. There has been over 19 legal contracts approved by the city council, and it cannot and should not be stopped at this point. Right now, the streetcar is being paid for and funded totally by private developers along the way. If you would stop the streetcar at this point in time, all the money that has already been spent has to be paid. We would have legal lawsuits sold against the city. It would damage our bond rating, and that funding for the streetcar would switch from the private developers onto the taxpayers' back. That's what the disaster would be.
John Ewing, you're next. 1 minute.
Thank you. Well, I believe there was a promise to make the streetcar project that people could vote on during the campaigns in the past. I don't know that the streetcar can be stopped now when you start looking at the Harney Street Bridge being torn down, when you look at all of the other things that have happened. And I believe if you break contracts now, you're in the process of having a situation where the state might not even keep their agreement to repair and replace the bridge over Harney Street. So I think it would be disastrous to stop the streetcar, but I think the next mayor has to do this. They have to ensure that the project is finished and that it is done in a way that creates opportunity for economic development and being able to continue extending that process so that you can have a more effective streetcar than what is currently being planned.
Thank you. Terry Brewer, 1 minute.
As I travel around the world that I do, I found out that streetcars are very good when you go on vacation to other places and go down. As Gene Sauter said, there's no need to us keep fighting about the streetcar. It's a done deal. We need to learn how to, from now on, invite our people to have an opinion to speak on what they think is better for Omaha, Nebraska. If I become the mayor, that's what I want to do. I want to hear the decisions from the people of what we need to make us become efficiency in our city. The streetcar is nice, but how many of us can really honestly use a streetcar?
Thank you. Jasmine Harris, 1 minute.
Thank you, Brian. That train has left the station. It would be fiscally irresponsible to stop the streetcar right now. And what we have to do is ensure that we are working with the transit authority that was created to connect all of our transportation systems in Omaha. And that's what I will do as your next mayor. To actually have a working relationship with the Transit Authority Board so that way we can ensure that people have transportation from down by the river out to Elkhorn. And I think we need to dream big. In the early 2000s, we had put up to vote that we should have a light rail system, the same time frame that Denver did theirs. And Denver has just tremendously exploded within their city and how they operate. And I feel like Omaha got left behind in that. So we need to think about how are we going to connect all of our transportation systems that will want young folks to stay here. They weren't included in that conversation, and I think that's why we have an issue with maintaining our young folks here. And then we also need to dream bigger than that. How about a transportation system from Omaha to Lincoln?
Thank you. Now the rebuttal. Each candidate gets 30 seconds in that same order. Back to Mike McDonald, 30 seconds.
I disagree. If you're digging a financial hole, stop digging. I think we have the opportunity for let the people vote. And if I'm wrong and the people decide they want the streetcar, I'll work night and day to make it successful. But I don't believe that's what the people want. We have an opportunity to stop this based on, we'll honor any legally binding contracts. But there's always the possibility to negotiate out of those contracts if the people of Omaha give us that direction. I think they have the opportunity, should have the opportunity to vote, and then we go back to the table and we start negotiating with people about the streetcar and the amount of money it's going to cost us and potentially in the next generation.
Gene Stothert, 30 seconds.
You can't bully your way through a legally binding contract, 9 of them that the Omaha City Council has already approved. The cars are being built, the vehicle maintenance facility is being built, HDR has to be paid for designing it. All of those things are not negotiable at this time. And a mayor does not have the ability, not me or not a new mayor, to stop the streetcar or to put it to a vote. Only the city council can put something on a ballot for a vote, and the city council supports the streetcar. They've already voted to approve it.
John Ewing, 30 seconds.
As has already been stated, I think the streetcar and the progress that's been made, whether we like it or not, has put the streetcar in a position where it cannot be stopped. What I would like to do, as I've said before, is make sure that we are successful with the streetcar and that we look at how we can incorporate that into our transportation system so that we can have a transportation system that works for everybody in this community. We have a mass transportation system that just doesn't work today, hasn't worked in any time that I've been able to ride a bus or do transportation through the city, and that's the bigger issue.
Thank you. Terry Brewer, 30 seconds.
Well, I want to jump on Ms. Harrison's. I would love to see a train go from here to Lincoln, especially when I go to the football games. It's hard finding parking space when you go to the football game. And to be able to have a train to go from here to Lincoln, hey, it helps me out a whole lot when I'm going to Nebraska, Cornhusker games.
Jasmine Harris, 30 seconds.
We talk about ensuring that we are an international city and a world-class city. We're not going to get there with a localized streetcar. Again, it's already done. What we can do is improve on it. And as your next mayor, that's what we will do. We will ensure that the streetcar connects all of our businesses downtown and then expand. We'll ensure that the buses meet up where they need to, and we'll ensure that we are looking beyond how the transportation is working right now.
Thank you. Next question. This is for Gene Stothert. According to numbers from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, in the last decade, by one account, Omaha's homelessness unsheltered population has grown by more than any other metro area. We know that individuals don't want to be in shelters for a variety of reasons. Sometimes it's safety, mental health, personal space, noise. Recently, there was a heartbreaking story of a powerful advocate for other homeless who lived on the street, and she died in the cold. Is this progress?
Well, first of all, those numbers that you see, and my opponent keeps on using the 1,200% increase, that is for 3 counties. That is for Douglas, Sarpy, and Potawatomi County. The total homelessness in this 3-region area has grown very, very slowly. In fact, it's about 9%. The unsheltered is what this number, this percentage comes from, 1,200%. And the reason is it was so low to begin with. It started out very low and it had a very slight increase, so that percentage looked like a lot. Now, have we been making progress? Yes, we have. And I've hired a homeless service coordinator who was called by my opponent just a DEI hire because she's a woman and he was going to fire her on first day. She has been very successful. She has moved over 300 families by working with all of the street outreach groups that we have here in Omaha. When you look at that number, too, that comes from HUD, they are looking at sheltered and transitional housing and unsheltered. The poor woman that did die in freeze, she was standing in front of my opponent in the legislature testifying against his bill to put the homeless in jail.
Thank you. John Ewing, 1 minute.
I believe that the homeless, unsheltered population is a much deeper conversation than we're having. we're pointing fingers and we're not doing what we need to do to actually address the issue. We need to be looking at decent, affordable housing. We need to be looking at the shelters that we already have in place, increasing their capacity, increasing their flexibility, so that people who are unsheltered have an opportunity to stay together. They have an opportunity to have their pets with them, those type of things, because that's why some people choose not to be sheltered. We also have to understand we have mental health issues, drug addiction, and we need to have a comprehensive approach to this issue so that we can make sure that our people in this city who are the least fortunate of us understand that they are valuable members of our community as well. That's what I'm going to do as mayor.
Terry Brewer, you're next, 1 minute.
I want to create more programs like Community Alliance, who helps homeless situation, who make sure that the homeless people are getting the medication that they need, that they're coming to this session. They got day programs, that the homeless folks don't have to sit on the street. They can go to a day program and learn how to come back and be back into the city, to be revived into the city, get jobs. If we can learn how to take our homeless people off the street and teach them again how, once again, to live on their own. Most of our problem with homeless situation, as John said, is most of them dealing with drugs, mental illness. And the most thing that I found out working with mental illness is that it doesn't do no good to put them on medication and we don't follow up with them. Once you send them back to the homeless shelter, they're on their own. There's no CMA, there's no therapist with them to make sure that they stay on the medication. I want to hire therapists. I want to make sure that therapists are there on site at Stanley President's house when they come in, that they be able to make sure that these homeless people who are dealing with schizophrenia, bipolar, are able to make sure that they're on their medication once we prescribe medication to them.
Thank you. Jasmine Harris, we have 1 minute.
Thank you, Brian. As a public health professional, I'll tell you this. The root cause of homelessness isn't going to be solved just by one plan. There is a multitude of factors that go into it. Yes, mental health and substance use disorders are a part of it, but we also see people being priced out of their homes. So a safe and affordable housing is another part of that we're not addressing. Houston has had a drop of about 32% in 1 year in their homeless population, and how they did it was coordination with all of the organizations and efforts and services that are going on in their city. So yes, homes first is how we are going to address that. You have to ensure that you have the safe and affordable housing for people to be put into. Supportive housing is a key piece of that. The work that I do, working with people who come home from incarceration, a lot of them are rendered to being unhoused. So I do this work and I make sure that we are connecting people with services, and that's what we're going to have to do from the mayor's office. Have a working relationship with all of the organizations and services that are happening within our city. Because if it's just put on one office, it's not going to happen. So that's a part of it.
Thank you. Mike McDonald, 1 minute.
I think as individuals and government, we should run to human suffering. But also, there's no help or hope in a tent or a cardboard box under a bridge, behind a business, or behind a home. We have to take a different approach. And I think we have to look at a FEMA type approach, where it's all hands on deck. If you have a safe zone where people can go based on they have basic human services, they have the ability to have that security, and also they have the counseling to try to be the best version of themselves. The mayor brings up a homeless coordinator. I hire people based on their ability to do the job. I will terminate them if they're not getting the job done. Our homelessness has gone up 1,200% in the last 12 years, but also it's gone up 40% in the last 2.5 years. We have to solve the problem. We just can't count the homeless. We have to reach out to the homeless. We have to make sure we approach this differently, because the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Gene Stott, 30 seconds.
Those great street outreach services are available now, whether it's a drug addiction problem, whether it's mental illness or mental health. That's why we have Tamara Dreyer, who is here today, our homeless service coordinator, help coordinate all those services that are already available in Omaha to get people the help that they need. My opponent here either wants to put homeless in jail or in tents. Tents don't work. Camps, they don't work, and it's been proven that they don't work. So we need to give them the services that are out there, and there is hope, and there is help for them. It needs to be coordinated, and that's what we're doing.
John Ewing, you have 30 seconds.
Thank you. One of the things I've done in my time here in Omaha has been the co-chair of the Crime Prevention Covenant. And we've been able to reduce crime and reduce gun violence by 70% in this city. We have to take that same type of coordinated approach, bringing all the agencies that are part of the solution together so we're not working in silos. There are services available today, but not everyone has access to those services. I served on the Habitat for Humanity Board of Directors. I've served on the Sienna Francis House Board of Directors. All of those type of organizations need to be pulled together.
Thank you. Terry Brewer, 30 seconds.
Well, I can tell this one thing. As a pastor of New Covenant Church of God in Christ, we have took homeless people off, and I have put them in hotels, making sure that they have places to stay when it's cold outside. I have fed a lot of them myself because I do understand homelessness is a very touchy situation for those of you who had never experienced it. Once you experience homelessness, I had a son who was homeless, so I understand the condition, and he was down in Santa Francis. And every time he got in trouble, they put him off the property. I couldn't ever understand that. And as a father who's concerned about this.
Thank you. You really stick to the time cues. Appreciate that. Jasmine Harris, 30 seconds.
Thank you. We talk about criminalizing homelessness. That's definitely not the answer. Making sure that our homeless services coordinator has the resources for that position and the connections in the community is going to be the answer. We have to have a multi-pronged approach to how we address solving the problem of houselessness in our community. I'm the mayor that's going to be able to do that because I'm not afraid to get out on the street and talk to people and make sure that they are being heard.
And Mike McDonald, 30 seconds.
We have over 100 homeless camps right now in the city of Omaha. What we're talking about is giving these people an option to go somewhere where there's services, basic human needs services, there's counseling, and there's security. Because right now they're not moving, but it's always got to be about public safety first. We cannot have a number of different people camping under bridges, behind businesses, and behind homes in the city of Omaha. We have to make sure it's public safety first, and making sure these people that don't want to go into the shelter have the opportunity to go somewhere where there's basic human services and counseling.
Thank you. This next question is for John Ewing, kind of dovetails our conversation. What's affordable housing mean to you, and how do you fix Omaha's shortage quickly?
Sure. So the first thing I always say, Brian, is I talk about decent and affordable housing, because you can have affordable housing and have the problems that we've seen at City View, that we've seen at Legacy Crossing, we've seen at OHA and other places in this community. So I say decent, affordable housing. That means housing that people can afford, but that also means clean, safe housing that allows people to be able to lay down at night and not have to worry about their safety, not have to worry about things that are in their home, not have to worry about their utilities and all of those type of other elements that go into housing. So we have to make sure it's decent, affordable, that's clean, that's safe, that's being able to be priced. Right now, we have one of the highest gaps in the United States between income and the cost of rent. We have to do a better job than that.
Terry Brewer, you're next. 1 minute.
When you're dealing with a one-family home, and I agree with John Ewing, we should make sure that the homes can afford where they're living at. And we should make sure that the landlords are not slum landlords, just taking people's money and not fixing the property that they stay in. If I become your mayor, I will make sure that we will work with banks who have given us opportunity to get our credit together, to make sure that we're able to afford a house, and make sure the house is in the range of where is your payment, where you can afford it, where you don't have to worry about being bankrupt or putting out your house because you cannot afford it. I look at the situation also that 55 and above homes that y'all have created in Omaha, Nebraska is really a joke. 55 above homes that in Nebraska, people who live there have told me that they're paying more money than they did when they had bought their own houses. And since it's not based on income, I want to make sure that affordable housing is based on the income that we have caught, because it determines our income, determines whether we can afford it or not, and we shouldn't have to live paycheck to paycheck to keep a house that we love, that we want.
Thank you. Jasmine Harris, 1 minute.
Thank you. Safe, healthy, and affordable housing. Again, we need a plan in place where we don't have the City Views, the Yates apartments, or the Yale apartments, the Fox Hill, all those things that have happened, right? Because there's no plan in place to help people as they are going through these. One, you need to enforce the landlord registry. I think that's where we fall short, because we have landlords who are not holding up their end of the bargain for folks who are in their facilities, in their buildings. What that means is that we make sure that those landlords who are not in this state have someone who is living here that is going to answer the calls when the mayor says, come clean this up. We need to ensure that we're working with our housing advocates. There are folks who are right now down in the legislature fighting for renters to have their tenant rights. We have to also look at the consent decree that's in place where people feel like they cannot go and make complaints against the landlords. These things all add up. And so we have to make sure we're doing that. And what is affordable?
Thank you. Mike McDonald, 1 minute.
John had brought up City View. We talk about inspectors, we talk about doing it right, about places where people can have a clean place to live. The mayor likes to take credit for a number of good things going on in our city. She doesn't take responsibility when they're not going good. And right now, we have a situation where we have facilities. Right now, we have some housing that based on a lack of actually attention, a lack of actually having a number of inspectors to be able to do their job, we didn't get the job done for those citizens. And we can look outside of the state of Nebraska, and I think it's always, don't be too proud to steal good ideas. Missouri has got an historical tax credit. It's working. It's working based on the idea of looking at homes that are over 50 years of age, having people go in and update those homes. We have homes on the market right now that need to be improved upon. But we also have city responsibility of actually looking at City View as things that just really fell through the cracks. And it wasn't overnight. It was going on year after year that these people were living in those kind of conditions. And I think we can do better for our citizens.
Jean Stothert, 1 minute.
Yeah, thank you. The mayor does not take credit for everything. I work with a team, and together we get things done. Having said that, the city of Omaha has been working with front porch investments as far as more affordable housing. When we received the COVID money, the city put in $20 million of the COVID money. That was our biggest investment. I got a $20 million match from Front Porch, and then another $20 million from HUD. So we had $60 million. Now, that's a lot more than we've had before to use on affordable housing, but it's not enough for the future. So we know that we need more. What we are doing now with the city of Omaha is we continue to work with our nonprofits. We are developing a housing action plan, affordable housing action plan, which the planning department has done. The city has assembled quite a few properties, especially in North Omaha, that we are selling for $1 each, so that developers that will build affordable housing can afford to build that. But what is that definition? The definition is people should not be spending 30% more than their salary is, including utilities, every month for housing. That's how we defined affordable housing. So there's a lot that we have been doing.
All right, rebuttal round now. John Ewing, back to you, 30 seconds.
Thank you. The first thing I will say to you is this: we have to be more creative as well with the solutions that have been implemented, have been talked about, and then we need to make sure that we're enforcing the codes and other things to make sure people have decent, affordable housing. One of the other things I think we have to do is we have to look at zoning. We have a lot of vacant lots. I was told yesterday 10 acres or some astronomical number of acres that we have that aren't being developed. Let's look at zoning and making the lots be able to have larger numbers of houses.
Thank you. Terry Brewer, 30 seconds.
I like what Gene said, and once the house has been rebuilt, I have people who live in there, they're charging them more money than they really necessarily call for. And it makes it accountable for them that when you're doing it, and these just renting houses, they're just renting it to own, to buy. And I look at the situation sometimes that if we're going to do that, we need to be fair to everybody. As she said, we need to make sure that their income can meet what we put them at. It does not do any good to put people in a house that they cannot afford and end up having to get them evicted, because now we're running back to what? A homeless situation.
Thank you. Jasmine Harris, 30 seconds.
Thank you, and thank you for answering the definition for what's affordable. I was going to get there. We need 18,000 housing units by 2030. We're not on par to get there. When you talk about zoning and the affordable housing plan, 14% of the available lots are available for middle housing. We need to ensure that our zoning matches what we need here in Omaha. And that's what you need a mayor for, to work with city council to ensure that we are getting this done.
Thank you. Mike McDonald, 30 seconds.
My question is, Mayor, you have all these great ideas. why not implement them over the last 12 years? But let's look towards the future. And the idea of all of a sudden right now, we have 80% are single-family dwellings. We have to look at the 20% that are multifamily, be able to construct, and maybe move that up to 22, 23, 24%. We have to think differently. I just want to know, why are these great ideas have been held up for the last 12 years? And again, going back to City View, we had people that were living in squalor based on we didn't have enough inspectors, and no one seemed like they cared for the last 3, 4, 5 years.
Thank you. Gene Stothert, 30 seconds.
You know, to say nothing has been done in 12 years is just absolutely wrong. You know, there is a lot that the City of Omaha has done, including with our Housing Affordable Action Plan. And with that, we have done a lot of policy and code changes that has already included zoning changes, more density, allowing people to build on smaller lots. All of those things are already in place that we have done to move this forward. But the need for affordable housing is real, is something that's always been there, but it seems like it's something that we have just talked a lot about, the increased need just recently, especially after COVID, when a lot of people couldn't afford to stay in their homes anymore.
All right, we'll move on to the next question. This one is for Terry Brewer. Let's jump in a helicopter. We're 1,000 feet above the state capitol. What are you focusing on, and what keeps you up at night when it comes to state lawmakers and their actions impacting Omaha? You have 1 minute.
What keeps me up at night is making sure that my people are safe. I walk the floor, I pray, I seek answers, because I know how it feels to be out and not safe. I grew up in the city, and one thing that I learned about living in Omaha is that when we came up here, we knew that if we walked the street at 24th Street, 12 o'clock, we knew we were safe. We didn't have to worry about nobody coming out shooting us, nobody robbing us, nobody doing anything. I want to bring back the value that we once had in this city, where the neighbors work together to protect our people, that they'll be able to know that, hey, we are unity. We are one big, happy family trying to survive, to live, to make it to the better future that's coming in our generation.
Thank you. Jasmine Harris, 1 minute.
Thank you, Brian. As an advocate down at the legislature, my daily job is to work with elected officials right now to ensure that we're removing barriers for folks so that way they have an actual opportunity for progress. So what keeps me up at night is that people who I work with do not have access to jobs that pay a living wage. They do not have access to affordable housing, safe and healthy affordable housing. They do not have access to the transportation they need to get to and from the house to the job that they're supposed to have. And so then that perpetuates a cycle that we continue to say our public safety isn't handling. So that's what all keeps me up at night. And as an advocate down at the legislature, what I saw happening with infighting and what I say now is that as a mayor and at the local level, we can get way more done. And that's why I decided to run, so that I can be a mayor for the people who will get the things done that need to happen here in our city.
Thank you. Mike McDonald, you're next. 1 minute.
PJ Morgan is a mentor of mine, and he's supporting our campaign. PJ Morgan at this time is the only mayor that ever served in our capital. If you choose me as your next mayor, I'd be the second. 8 years experience serving in the Capitol, serving on appropriations, knowing how the dollars are spent, knowing how the system works in the Capitol. That would be something that would benefit us as taxpayers of the city of Omaha. Because right now you talk about the tax cuts that we made, largest in the history of the senators that I served with, and I'm proud of that. But also we have to know that there's dollars going down in Lincoln, and again, I believe in our dollar helping the whole state, east, west, north, south, but we're 25% of the population here in the city of Omaha. In Douglas County, we're 30% of the population of the state. We should be getting our fair share to come back to Omaha and Douglas County to help the citizens that are paying the biggest part of that contribution to the state. And again, I believe in helping the whole state, but I believe in helping Omaha first. And I believe with my experience, 8 years serving in the legislature, I have the ability to do that no other mayor has been able to since PJ Morgan.
Thank you. Gene Stothert, 1 minute.
Yeah, my office keeps a really close track what's going on down in Lincoln because we are the biggest city in the state of Nebraska. We are the economic engine for the state. The most sales tax come out of the city of Omaha. So the things that go on down in Lincoln are very important. That's why I keep really close contact with our Omaha senators and the governor to make sure that we are communicating with how what is going on in the legislature affects us. I would say safety, I would say taxes, and I would say roads. I would say those are the three things that are the the most important right now to the citizens of Omaha and throughout the state. That's the number one you hear, the thing you hear all the time is we need our taxes lower. So that is one thing that we do. We have hired 2 new lobbyists in the past year or so, and we keep really close track of what is going on and how we can help and how we can let these senators that are trying to make informed votes, as well as the governor, how that will affect Omaha, how will it affect our budget, and how will it affect the entire state. Those are the important things.
John Ewing, 1 minute.
One of the things we're doing today is we're talking about what if. One of the things I have done is I've increased the commission that the Douglas County Treasurer's Office gets for collecting state sales tax for Nebraska from $75 a month or $900 a year to about $21 million. So what we have to do is ensure that we're also being creative in looking at ways to retain revenue in Omaha, Nebraska. We also have to make sure that we're not having unfunded mandates which happen down in the legislature when there's not enough communication. So we have to ensure that we are communicating with those state senators as they're looking at their legislative priorities. We also have to make sure that the state is partnering with us in economic development. I think there was some great work started with the money that came to Omaha from the ARPA funds, but we need to ensure that we are also investing in our businesses so that they can grow as well.
Thank you. Terry Brewer, rebuttal round, 30 seconds.
Well, I agree with John Ewing. We need projects that are going to help us to make sure that we are able to carry out. When I stay up at night and I walk my floor, I think about the time when my father had 10 of us in the house, one income, and we survived. We survived because there were opportunities that programs that Omaha, Nebraska had that helped us to be able to survive, that we didn't have to worry about where we're going to lay our head at. We didn't have to worry about what we're going to do with this net because programs that we need to bring them programs back. The Boys Club was a great success for me. I met a lot of mentors.
Thank you. Jasmine Harris, 30 seconds.
Thank you. I have already established relationships with a lot of the senators who are down there right now. So this isn't for me something that I'm just going to newly walk into. Again, I do this work every day, creating relationships and ensuring that we are working together in a concerted effort to address the issues that are impacting our family, friends, and neighbors. So I will continue that work. Because right now what I hear is business as usual. We can't continue business as usual because it doesn't work and we're all suffering because of it.
Thank you. Mike McDonald, 30 seconds.
Last year when I was serving in the legislature, we were having discussions about property tax relief, trying to put more dollars, make sure they stay in your pocket. Mayor Stothard was texting the senators and asking them not to support the property tax relief, and the governor at the time, based on the idea that it was going to actually negatively impact her tax incremental financing projects. That's the kind of contact she was having last year when we were trying to look for true property tax relief. She's texting senators to stop that based on TIF projects.
Gene Stothard, 30 seconds.
My opponent is lying. That did not
I
happen
have
at
the
all.
text messages.
The state senators asked me my opinion of how what they are doing is affecting
Not according to the
Omaha,
state senators.
And really, and I communicate with them. I communicate with all of them except Senator McDonald because I know he probably wouldn't appreciate it at all. But last year, keep this in mind, the city of Omaha was ranked by Forbes as the #1 city in the entire country to move to. And it was based on jobs, affordability, and safety. We got 100 points out of 100 points. That didn't come easy. And that's showing we work together here and we do get things done. It's not just business as usual.
All right, John Ewing, you get the last word, 30 seconds.
Thank you. One of the things I've done throughout my 43 years of service to this community is establish relationships with people at all levels of political offices as well as across both parties. I believe that you have to be willing to work in a bipartisan manner, and that's how you get things done. And that's what I've done throughout my entire career. That's what I will do as your next mayor, is make sure that we get things done that are best for the city of Omaha.
This next question is for Jasmine Harris. We've already gone one loop around. Omaha has received national exposure for clearing murder cases at a 100% rate, reducing violent crime. I know you're a passionate advocate for criminal justice reform. Do you celebrate these, and where do you see the door for improvement? You have 1 minute.
Yes, thank you. I am a passionate advocate. I believe that many people suffer from what's happening because we don't address a lot of the underlying conditions and the root causes for crime. And so I advocate to go upstream and to work on prevention efforts. Yes, we have reduced crime here in our state. We have a great clearance rate for the homicide rates, and that is a part of it. When we think public safety, we think law enforcement, but again, there's prevention that goes into that as well. I want to ensure that we are making the mental health responders unit as robust as we can. We've seen an increase in calls for mental health responders, and I want to ensure that they are resourced and staffed where they need to be. We also need to improve upon that and include mobile crisis units. I travel this city by car all the time, from down to the river out to Elkhorn, just out there last night. And I see folks who are having those kinds of reactions to where they need someone to meet them where they are.
Thank you. Mike McDonald, you're next. 1 minute.
Homicides, adult homicides have gone down. Thank God, thank the work of the Omaha Police Department. But also juvenile homicides have gone up. Quality of life crimes have gone up. We're 100 police officers short. We're 115 short today. We've been over 100 police officers short for the last 3.5 years. We're the lowest we've been in 10 years. We had an opportunity with Sheriff Aaron Hansen reaching out to Mayor Stothard in September saying that I can actually help you with take some of that pressure off since you're below 100 plus police officers and try to make sure that I do a traffic enforcement for you. Didn't take him up on that offer. We know that crime goes in cycles. We know that in 2015 we hit a high of 50 for homicides in the city of Omaha. The idea of actually working together, making sure that our police department has the proper number of officers on the street to protect us isn't happening right now. And I believe we have to look at a different way of recruiting. We have to make sure that we are not just having applications twice a year. We have to do it nonstop throughout the year. And we have to go into other cities and recruit current police officers as lateral transfers.
Thank you. Gene Stothard, 1 minute.
We should be very proud of our crime statistics now. The lowest number of violent crime in years and years and years. All crime is down 19%. Our homicides were down to 19 last year. It was the lowest number of homicides in over 30 years, and our clearance rate has been 100%. That's really great leadership in our police department and great police work. Chief Todd Schmatter does not need Mike McDonald to tell him how to run the Omaha Police Department. I'll tell you that right now. Juvenile crime, yes, it is up, but juvenile crime should be based on prevention and intervention and rehabilitation, not punishment. So I agree, we need to have a more focus on juvenile crime. I think that there is more we can do, but so proud of our crime statistics now. Omaha is a safer city. The work that our police department has done, the community groups have really helped a lot, like Omaha 360, the Empowerment Network, the work that they have done. There was one time last year that there was over 30 cities in this country, including Kansas City, that were calling us saying, what have you done in Omaha to reduce your crime rate like you have? We should be proud of that.
Thank you. John Ewing, you're next. 1 minute.
Thank you, Brian. I am the only one in this race who's actually recruited police officers. And when I recruited police officers, we doubled the number of applicants, and we also were at full staffing. That's what I will do as your next mayor, is make sure that we are fully staffed by being creative and doing some of the things that I did when I was responsible for that. I believe the Omaha Police Department does great work in this community, and they do need to be commended, but they also need the increased staffing that will allow them to be even better. We need to be able to have the time to really focus on community policing and building partnerships with our community. That has been a great part of the success with the Omaha Police Department. That also includes crime prevention, where I worked for 5 years during my time with the Omaha Police Department. I believe we can do great things. I've been to some of those cities that have wanted to partner with Omaha and help build some of those partnerships.
Thank you. Terry Brewer, 1 minute.
Well, I like to say this, that when you go down to DCY and you see all the youth, 11 to 17-year-olds down there, 55% of our youth is in jail. It makes me wonder as a parent, what are we doing? It starts at home. We have to learn to go back to the old-fashioned of making sure that our children have things to do besides games. When I came up, we had Ataris. We had games, But my father believed that the only way to ever get out of poverty is education. I would make sure that all of our youth have an opportunity to have education. I believe education is the key that unlocks every door for our youth today, because they got to have hope. Everybody's not going to be a basketball player. Everybody's not going to be a football player. Everybody's not going to be a track star. But everybody got an opportunity to get education. And I'm a dead sticker on education. I have 4 degrees because of what my father and mother taught me. Go get it. Don't be lazy. Get out there and make things work for you. I'm a dreamer, and I believe that if you dream bigger than what is for you.
Thank you. Jasmine Harris, 30 seconds.
What increases productivity? Ensuring that you can focus on your actual job duties. As a mayor, I want to ensure that law enforcement can focus on what they need to focus on, but take the relief off their shoulders when it comes to having to deal with people that are experiencing mental health episodes. Ensuring that that is increased with the funding that is needed, not just grants, but actually prioritizing it in our budget. We cannot charge our babies as adults. We have failed them if they ever get to that point to where we need to charge them. Again, it's all about prevention, and we need to ensure that we're talking about restorative practices and mental health, and it starts young as well.
Mike McDonald, you're next, 30 seconds.
We can't forget about the victims. The idea of actually the prevention of the crime and making sure the police officers have the authorized strength, which they haven't had for the last 3.5 years, but we also can't forget about the victims. And sometimes I think we do, based on, we want to look at the prevention, and we want to make sure that we're putting people in a position to be the best version of themselves. But at the same time, sometimes I think we talk about people being charged, and what Aaron Hansen, Sheriff Hansen, and Don Klein have worked on as a state senator serving the 5th district. I was proud on working on that legislation to make sure that we're trying to make sure our communities are safer based on the penalties, and how we can actually adjust and look at juveniles differently than adults, of course. But at the same time, we have to make sure that we're always looking out for that police officer that's serving us, the public safety of the citizens, and making sure we don't forget about the victims.
Thank you. Gene Stothert, 30 seconds.
Thank you. Since I've been mayor, I've added 102 police officers to our budgeted strength. In 17, 18, and 19, we were almost fully staffed at that time. And then 2020 came, and there was the movement throughout the country to defund, disassemble the police. And every major city had a hard time recruiting police officers. Just this morning, Chief Tajmader and I did a press conference, and we revealed a lot of new steps that we are going to take to move forward. One of those steps is that we will guarantee that the Omaha Police Department is always 5% higher than any law enforcement agency in the state of Nebraska. And we're going to move forward with that and other initiatives so we stop this catch-up game and we could get back up to our sworn strength, or our budgeted strength.
Thank you. John Ewing, 30 seconds.
Thank you, Brian. One of the things I'll tell you about my career with the Omaha Police Department is that I was the unit commander for the Special Victims Unit. I've never forgot about the victims in this community, and we actually got laws passed in the state legislature during my 17 months to protect women and children in this state. I also believe that one of the issues with recruiting and retention is the amount of pension contributions that police and fire personnel have to make, and I would address that as well.
Thank you. Terry Brewer, you get the last word here, 30 seconds.
Well, let me tell you, as a pastor, I have buried a lot of youth. I have went to the homes and seen parents who have lost their youth to violence, gun violence. It breaks my heart to hear a mother sitting there crying, saying, I did all I could do, and now she's burying her son. We have to look at the situation and find a solution to help our young folks understand that that's not the way of life. Killing somebody does not solve a problem. But if we can learn to work together to make a safe environment so that mother don't have to come to a funeral.
Thank you. Time now for closing statements. We drew names out of a hat to determine the order. You get 1 minute. We begin with Gene Stothert.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here today. You know, I've said this many times, but I love my job and I hope it shows. We have had 12 years of determination, of progress, and success. Our momentum right now is unprecedented. Omaha is moving forward in every way, from public safety to the city budget being stable to economic development. We know how to change vision into results, to set and exceed our goals, and to empower our citizens. That's the thing that I want to continue as mayor. This momentum that we have, the great team that I have assembled that has been able to achieve the things that we have achieved in the last 12 years, we need to keep this group together to keep this momentum going. I love working with you. I love working for you, and I ask for your vote on April 1st because we have a lot more we can get done together.
Thank you. Terry Brewer, 1 minute.
I'm a Marine Corps veteran, and my job I love everyone's seen. I want to encourage that we carry out discipline. That's one thing I learned about coming up in my home. Discipline was the key to success for us. If I become your mayor, I want to bring back programs that once helped me to become successful where I'm at today. Today is what I'm looking at. I'm looking for the future of my babies, my grandchildren, having a legacy, being proud to be Omaha, telling folks that I go to Omaha. I travel the world a lot, and when I go to different places, folks always ask me a question: is there black folks in Omaha? And I say, yes, I'm one of them, and proud to say I'm a man of Omaha, Nebraska. I want Omaha to understand that if you make me your mayor, I will do everything within my power to make sure that I have open door policy, that you can come and talk to me. I do that in my church. There's no thing we can talk about that I cannot handle. I love people. I'm here with a passion. I love this city, born and raised in this city. Watch the generation of my people come from South to come to this city to bring a better education for us.
Thank you. John Ewing, 1 minute.
Thank you. I absolutely love being a public servant. It's what I've done all of my adult life. One of the things you can count on from me as your next mayor is that I will keep my promises to you, just like I have as the Douglas County Treasurer. I believe it's critically important that leaders keep their word and they do the things that they say they are going to do. I believe I have the ability to do the things that I've talked to you about today and that I've talked to you about for almost a year during my campaign. One of the things that I think is critically important is that we continue to listen to this community. We continue to ensure that we are always serving them and that we are always putting their needs first. And that's what I've done throughout my career. That's what I will do as your next mayor, because I believe it's critically important that you feel like you have a voice and everyone in this community feels like they belong and they are an important part of this community.
Thank you. Jasmine Harris, 1 minute closing statement.
Thank you, Brian. Again, thank you everyone for being here today. I'm not running for mayor to make it a career move. I wake up every day wondering, what can I do to make lives better for people here in Omaha? This right here is an extension of what I did in 2021 when I ran for mayor and was 1,100 votes shy of advancing to the general. It's to build on the movement that we started then, because people want a change. Those who feel like they're not included, those who feel like their voices aren't being heard, they want someone to step in and step up and say, let's get it done. I'm a leader of people. Again, as an advocate down at the legislature, we moved to get over 7,000 people their voting rights back. So I don't just sit back and watch. I step in and I step up. You need someone who has integrity, someone who has accountability, and that person is me. My children, my youngest two, 10 and 11, they're already talking about leaving Omaha. I want an Omaha's future that is going to work for them, that is going to include them. I'm here because I believe in the people of Omaha, and I'm going to be the mayor for the people of Omaha.
Thank you. Mike McDonald, 1 minute.
Thank you all for being here. All the people that have come and volunteered for our campaign and donated of their time, talent, treasury, we really appreciate it. It's motivating and humbling. Brian, I was going to tease you and ask you where John Nicely was, but congratulations on the new job. Great job today.
Thank you.
Looking at the city of Omaha, of course, our foundation is always going to be public safety, streets, garbage, parks, affordable housing. We have to control spending. If you elect me the first day in office, what we're going to do is we're going to zero out the budget, and we're going to do performance-based budgeting. Right now, there's an accounting firm based on it's a 501c3, grades all cities in the state of or the United States. And right now, as the city of Omaha, we have a D. Lincoln has a B, 55 miles away. They have a B rating, we have a D rating. There's something going on here that's not right on our spending. We can talk about the streetcar, and I want you to vote on the streetcar. And I want to make sure that we're spending our dollars effectively and efficiently. This campaign's not about me, it's about we. What does our future look like in the city of Omaha? But we have to get control over our spending and make sure that every taxpayer dollar is spent effectively and efficiently for your public safety and your future and your children's future and your grandchildren's future.
All right, that does it for the debate. Thank you to the candidates. Thank you for the wonderful audience. The Omaha Press Club, the League of Women Voters, Greater Omaha. Good luck to all of you for the primary. I'm Brian Mastre. We'll see you next time.
Hey guys, Jacqueline Fernandez here at the Alert Center. Clearly, the 1 hour debate with our own Brian Mastre as host just ended at this second. I've been busy along with my colleagues behind me and all around me. I've got this chair behind me here, just taking notes and listening to some of Brian Mastre's questions that he was asking some of the people running in this mayoral race. So just to briefly, if I can, just go over a few things that we were discussing this afternoon, or some of the questions that were being asked. So if we kind of start from the beginning and then work our way back down, if you're just joining us now, we're going to kind of review what was said and what was discussed at the mayoral debate this afternoon. So this debate was an hour in length from start to finish, and Brian was really good at making sure that we stayed within those guidelines. So that was a huge, huge help just in kind of getting started. Now, his first question was, if elected, how will you improve Omaha for future generations? The question started to and was directed towards Jasmine Harris, and she's talked a lot about Omaha needing fresh ideas. I'm looking at my notes here over my left-hand shoulder here. She said, of course, focus on public safety, affordable housing, support local small businesses, and essentially throughout the debate today, she's been talking about how she wants people who may feel like their voices have not been heard. She wants them to be able to feel like they can speak up and speak out, and she will speak up and out for them. So that was kind of what Jasmine Harris had to say about that. That same question then went to Mike McDonnell. He again talked about public safety, streets, garbage, improving tax dollars, becoming the international city of the future, retaining and recruiting OPD police officers. Did talk about brain drain, that idea that, you know, these young people who are in Nebraska here are looking to leave Omaha and go on to greener pastures, so to speak. So he talked about, you know, keeping the young people here and really focusing on what it takes in order to do that. Then we went to incumbent Jean Stothert. She said she has been part of this pattern over the last 12 years. So she's been in office for 12 years now. She has experienced a lot of progress and built upon that with job creation. She talks about the budget. She says the statistics do show that they are on track under her leadership. She talked about reducing the property tax levy 5 times. Talked about economic development from Missouri to Elkhorn, unemployment rate dropping from 4% to 2%. And she says, you know, she needs to stay in office to kind of keep that momentum flowing. Next up, John Ewing with this same question. Omaha needs to do more intentional economic development. So that's what he said. He said we need high-paying jobs, living wages in the city. He says there's a shortage of affordable and decent housing. He did mention the word decent several times when talking about housing. Not only do we need to be able to afford the homes we're living in, but we also want to make sure that, you know, we are enjoying our lifestyle as we see fit. Again, talking about recruiting and retaining young people. Next up, Terry Brewer for this one. Safe place was really what a lot of the candidates had to say about multiple topics. But this first question, creating a safe place for young people, wanting to reduce the crime rate in the city, wanting to make sure young people have a future. He's a pastor. He says he's a dreamer. He says, you know, it's all about educating the youth when they're young to kind of avoid the spike in crime rates, if you will. And even though those crime rates have gone down in the city over the past few years, under Mayor Stothert's leadership, he says he wants to continue to keep those crime rates down by really starting by educating our youth. So there was a rebuttal to that, but I will move on and I'll kind of leave that for you to take a further look at if you'd like to on your own time. Meanwhile, question 2, it's been quoted by one of the candidates. This was about the streetcar, right? So people are for the streetcar, against the streetcar. Still a lot of controversy there, even though we are well underway with building the streetcar. You know, one of the bridges is out now to make way for that new development. The streetcar named disaster was one of the quotes that moderator Brian did use. And he said, so what don't you like about it? So Mike McDonald basically said the streetcar will be a nightmare for the people, and we're going to end up paying for it. That was one of the things that he said. Gene Stothert, so Mike McDonald and Gene Stothert were kind of at odds with each other throughout the entire debate this afternoon. I did put little stars next to one of the things that she said, quote, she said, the true disaster would be Mike McDonald's plan. So she says the streetcar's in, everything's moving along, it's being paid for, and we need to just keep along this track, so to speak, to make sure that everything happens as it should. Just heading back to my notes here real quick. There we are. John Ewing said he doesn't think the streetcar can be stopped and doesn't think it should be. Just in some notes, Terry Brewer, streetcar is a done deal, and from his travels abroad, he says this will likely bring more people to the city. But he does ask, how many people are actually going to use this? So that was a rhetorical question, and a question that some of us are asking ourselves as well. Are you really going to use this streetcar when it does come into the area? Also with local businesses, will this be a good thing? And only time will tell as we continue to establish those streetcar routes and just, work with MUD and the different departments to make sure that we do get the streetcar up and running eventually. Jasmine Harris said, it would be financially irresponsible to stop the streetcar in its tracks. And she said, if we start here, we've really got to dream big. So why not some direct transportation from Omaha to Lincoln? So that was one thing that was mentioned as well. Just fix my notes here and save them as I go along. Then there was the rebuttal to that. Also discussed, I'm going to kind of wrap this up just a little bit for you, but also discussed the homeless population, what's going on. The homeless population is growing. People don't necessarily want to be in shelters, but we know that tents don't work, so what is the solution? One woman, Brian Mastre mentioned, recently died in one of these shelters, freezing cold conditions out there. So he said, the question basically is this progress? Are we seeing progress with what we have in place for now? So, I will leave that to you to look those up at your leisure. And question 4 dealt with affordable housing. What does that mean to you as a candidate, and how do you plan on fixing it? That was another question with the rebuttal, of course, just scrolling through these notes. And again, I just do want to reiterate that current Mayor Gene Stothert, the incumbent for this mayoral election, was really at odds throughout the entire debate with Mike McDonald, right? So they were kind of butting heads with each other, and ironically enough, standing next to one another during this debate. So, McDonald said, if you have these great ideas at one point to Mayor Stothert, why not implement them over the past 12 years? So really kind of pushing her for to be kind of in her face and see what her response is. So she did come back and say a lot has been done in the past 12 years, including an affordable action plan, and they just keep talking about these different ideas for what current Mayor Stothert says is and has been successful for the city, needing to keep this momentum going. And then mayoral candidate Mike McDonald saying, we're doing this all wrong. We need to focus on the budget and make sure that taxpayer dollars aren't coming into play when they shouldn't be, or the city leaders shouldn't be irresponsible with their taxpayers' cash. So a lot of people mentioned safety in Omaha. We talked about the affordable housing. Decent affordable housing was what one of the candidates said. Then violent crime. This has clearly been reduced with OPD under the leadership of Chief Schmaderer there, Chief Todd Schmaderer. Is there room for improvement? What does this look like? That was yet another question from our Brian Mastre. And then I'm going to kind of wrap this up. So they did have closing statements, time for closing statements at the end, where each potential candidate had the option to kind of just, lay it all out there for the voting public, to let them know what they stand for and what issues are really hit close at heart to them. So we take a look. Of course, that vote is on April 1st. So make sure you get out and vote, make your voice heard. Incumbent Gene Stothert during closing statement says she has been successful. Again, the momentum is great. She talks about safety, economic development, empowering citizens. She wants to keep this group together, right? She said 12 years in office, and she wants to keep it going. She says she loves working with the people, and she wants you to get out and vote. Terry Brewer talked about being a Marine Corps vet. He says he wants to bring back programs that were here in Omaha when he was younger. He says that'll really kind of help the youth be successful in the future. He talked a lot about being born and raised in the city, being a proud person here in Omaha, and it just establishing this sense of idea for an extended education for the students, for the young people, for the youth here in Omaha and moving forward. And he does believe in this open door policy is what he talked about. So he said, if you have an issue, he will, as mayor, let you come in and express your concerns and get to work on it. Going back through my notes here real quick. All right, John Ewing did talk about during closing statements here, he says he loves being a public servant, and he really did stress being able to count on his promises. So he's saying, what I say, I'm going to actually do. And so that was a big factor for his. He believes leaders need to keep their word. If they say they're doing something, do it. And he does say we need to continue to listen to the community and put people's needs first. All right, then down to Jasmine Harris, her closing statements. She said this is not a career move. Those were the first words that came out of her mouth. She says she wants to make life better for the people of Omaha, wants to build a new movement. She's a leader of the people, she says. She says she already advocates at the legislature. That was one of the topics at hand that was brought up by Brian Mastre. She says she has integrity, accountability, and wants a future that will work for her children. She did say her 2 young children were actually discussing at home, and I thought this was kind of an interesting tidbit, that they wanted to leave Omaha and go elsewhere. So she said, as a mother, what can she do to keep them here, right? So that's one of her focuses. And she did conclude saying she wants to be a mayor for the people of Omaha. Mike McDonald lastly talked about public safety, streets, affordable housing, the budget. That was his big thing, balancing the budget. He said he wants a performance-based budget. He said we've had a D rating for spending in Omaha, and he wants to make sure we're spending our money efficiently. Taxpayer dollars aren't just going to these unnecessary projects, and we need to control our spending. So that, in a nutshell, is what was discussed during this afternoon's mayoral debate with our Brian Mastre as moderator. And I just want to say lastly, we hope you really enjoyed listening to the debate, and we hope that you will head out there and vote on April 1st when the time comes to do so. In the interim, thank you so much for joining us at the Alert Center, and thank you so much for listening in on this debate. Important that we all kind of take note what's happening in our communities to ideally make it a better place and vote for the person who we think will best represent everyone here in Omaha. Have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you for our broadcast at 3 o'clock.